twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming. And the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, it through the night, that our flag was still there. Those sailors that star-spangled banner yet wave, for the land of the free and the hope of the brave. Bayang mag-ibig, prestasi kamanan, anak ng puso, sa titimoy buhay, lupang hinirang, tuyang ka nang mag-ibig, sa manlulupig, ikapatisigil, sa dagat at tunog, sa simoy at sa langit mong bukal, may ditakang tula at awit sa taglay ang minamahal. Ang ispat ng watawan mo'y tagumpay na nanininig, ang bituin at harap niya kanan, pamay di magdidilim, lupa ng araw na luwag, hapit pagsita, o kaya langit sa piling mo. Ang ligaya ng pag may mga kapit, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Eric Walloway. Good performance. what do you all think of that? Yeah, I have this funny story actually. About 10 minutes ago, I'm away to the bathroom, I'm just gonna wash my hands, All of a sudden I see these naked Filipino guys that are just like right into the sink. Kind of a moment. But anyway, for our next somebody that I want to introduce to you actually. He's a first year, but he has a lot of energy and he has a lot of dedication, and a lot of this would not have happened without him. So his name is Andrew. He's
was elected at Sweetwater Board of Trustees in 1998 and is among the who's who of educators, top 2% in the United States. We know that she's from San Diego. That she serves on board of Pilipino and also on UCLA's PAA Board of Advisors. And that's the facts. And I want to tell you a little cuento, right? Break it down a little bit. And that's why they chose me. Because we go back 20 years ago when dolphins and big feathered hair was in a dear girl. And I met Arlie in 1982. In her first year, she was proclaimed, she was awarded the Outstanding Freshman. I remember at that banquet at Yamashiro or something like that. And I knew this sister was an on top and rising. She came from a wonderful family. And I think there's a saying in Tagalog and Filipino that you only have to look at the strength and quality of the tree to understand and sort of tell how sweet the fruit's going to be. And knowing that, we knew that Arlie came from a very deep, a very important, and a very wonderful family, the Casa family, and all of them are here with Arlie tonight. That from her undergraduate, Arlie was just on top. To me, she was just a sister that we looked and respected very much, because she was a strong Pinay. She was a strong role model, and following the steps of Jennifer, Arlie just, boom. I mean, she had to be the youngest of 10 children. But Arlie just achieved and represented well in all that she did. Some of the important things I remember about keeping our relationship with Arlie is this important idea of networking. Keeping close your relationships with people who not just go to school and say goodbye, but you maintain your ties as an extended Filipino-American community. To me, Arlie represents really the essence of what the word paglilingkod means. And she does that, does not just here at UCLA, but wherever she goes, nurturing other young students and telling them what they can become. These things are an important aspect of a role model. And I'm very, very proud to sort of be here to provide testimony to this complete Filipina who's a proud and nurturing mother and family member, who's a faithful and loving wife, to Eddie Boy, Dinky, Boro, three beautiful daughters, Natalie, Antoinette, and Elena. And she's a strong and articulate and passionate Filipino. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in recognizing our awardee of the 2002 Filipino American Alumni Distinguished Alumnus of the Year Award, the Honorable and the All the Way Live.
Eric, how long do I have? As long as I want. I have the microphone. My goodness, what an honor it is to be here this evening in front of all of you. But I do want to say to the advisory board, how come I didn't get the youth? You know, I realized when I had gotten the information that I'd received this award, that really I've been traveling in life. That's how I used to look when I was about 2 years old. This is Antoinette. This is my middle child. Okay. My composure's all gone. I love my girl. That's how I caught her. Okay. And you know what? That's really what it's all about. And there's so much when I gotten the news that I had gotten this wonderful award. What would I say? Come on up here, Antoinette. Antoinette. Your mom. Come here now. And this is my eldest. This is Natalie. And Elena's falling asleep with her Nino back there. But this is really what Samahang and what PAA represents. And yes, I thank you, Awala, who has been an inspiration to me when I came in as a student. But that this is family, and it really is. And I'm going to take some moments to really express to you the emotion of what I feel tonight. Tonight I have wonderful family with me, as you can see, my wonderful daughters. I have the most supportive and wonderful husband that any person, partner in life could ever have in Ed Bacaparo, Samahang president as well. And he still looks like he was in college last year. Mary, that young thing right there. But also along with that, I want to take this time to recognize my kuya, my eldest brother of the Rikasa clan, because this is also very symbolic. He is here this evening with his family, my sister-in-law Karina, the eldest grandchildren in the family, Eric, and Tara, his youngest daughter, who is a freshman here at UCLA. So if I can have them stand as well. We'll talk about Tara, what y'all thought about her when you first saw her. That's another story. But no, I want to point this out because this is really important when family came, because when my mother and father were alive, they were here with myself and Tony, who's also a past Samahang president, along with Robert, who's also a past Samahang president, and they came to every function in Los Angeles to support us. And I think this is wonderful because now I have my kuya Rick and his family here, seeing me receive this award. My brother Lito, who stayed in San Diego to make his connections out there, but was actually part of the first groups out of the college system to actually establish Filipino Cultural Nights from Southwestern College. And that's my brother Lito right there holding my baby. It is so important what PAA is doing and what Samahang Filipino is doing. 30 years of dynamic history. 30 years of helping individuals become the most successful that they can be and the most potential that they can have. And that is exhibited in this room. Those of you who I haven't had the opportunity to meet, and those of you who I go back with in the 80s, not the 70s, in the 80s. See, that's why I missed that youth award just right now. But because we keep coming back, and that whole purpose of giving back truly is something we want to do. my role models, and they need to get a lot of praise, because this award really should not just be for me. And this is not about nepotism. But my two brothers, Robert and Tony, helped to establish who I am as a leader in the community, in my job, in my household, just personally. And I believe they deserve this recognition just as much. And those of you who know the history and you look back at some of Filipino, there was always that strife in that 60s and that early 70s to come together and bond together. Robert came on towards the end of the 70s, and he brought organization to Samahang Filipino. He brought in the first constitution to this wonderful organization. And he helped to bridge a lot of the dialogue between immigrant-born and American-born, which was so important. Then my brother Tony, he had been around, even though he sent his spies out to see me when I was a freshman to make sure I was keeping in line. He was the one who just put politics and power in this group, Samahang and PAA. You need to know that history. Though he ran for UCLA president and didn't win, what he did and what that served a purpose for was to lay the groundwork for those of us to make some critical decisions in shaping what UCLA was about. And thank goodness, because our first Filipino-American brother to be the president was mentored by Tony, and that's the Youth Award winner, Mark Polito, who you'll see tonight. So this is power in this room, folks. I am so proud to have this opportunity to be with you. I am so proud to have had the opportunity to speak at a PAA event a couple months ago, because I see the dynamic contribution this group is going to be giving. And as a person who is committed to the goals of PAA and Samahang, you can count on us. You can count on the Ricasa family. You're not losing any of them anytime soon. And you can bet that this award means so much more than this beautiful trophy right here. But it means the legacies that we are leaving to our kids, because that's what it's all about. It's not about me. It's about our future and what they're going to accomplish for us, because we are family. I thank you so much. God bless.
PAA award, I'd like to introduce a former advisor to Samahang Filipino. He's currently serving on the Board of Trustees of the Los Angeles Community College District. He's also serving on PAA's advisory board, Mr. Warren Frutani.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, brothers and sisters. It's a particular honor and pleasure to be here this evening. When I was asked to make a presentation for my dear friend, it turned out that because of the others being honored tonight, I go way back with all of them. I mean, Florante and I used to be a dueling rock and roll band back in the 60s and 70s. And I've worked with the oldsters that came on the stage for years, from the time I was trying to figure out what the hell SIPA meant. And I then wanted to know what the heck to kick, and then I found out that SIPA meant to kick some ass. So, also, and I'm sorry, Arlene, but when I saw the awards, you should just be happy they didn't put old among us. It's amazing, but when I was at UCLA, all of you that know me were so doggone young, and you no longer are. You are getting closer to me in age. But it was that time at UCLA that I first met the young man that I now almost share an office with. We have our own office in the cafeteria around Reaganville. But this young man had a particular quality that I've seen in Samahan in so many different ways. And that particular quality was a respect, a sense of loyalty, and like the organization itself, he kept within himself dealing with dueling issues. I mean, he loved to have a good time, but he knew they needed to be political. He loved to party, but he knew that the political issues were really what it was all about. As I've grown through my political career, and I thank Samahan for helping me get elected in 1987 to the Los Angeles Board of Education. Samahaners know that you helped me pass that test. Also, you know that because Arlie's on the Board of Education and Mark is on the Board of Education, that maybe we've set a trend. But the thing I'm most excited about with Mark Polito, and the thing that I have found to be the most fun, is that in my political life, I had an older mentor that I would go see. His name was Master Kai, when I first got on the Board of Education. And I would go walk across the freeway from LA Unified to go to LA County where his office was. And he had so much fun at my expense. I would go there and talk about the issues I was dealing with and the consternation I was trying to overcome and why this happened and why that happened. And he just laughed every time I saw him. Well, now I do the same with Mark. The thing that's so fabulous and great about watching this young man grow is, although meeting him many years ago when he was being mentored by Tony and Mel and Reynard and all of you others in Samahan, to see a young man sort of do a full circle in his life. But I'm not talking about a full circle where you go back to the same place that you started. I'm talking about an upward spiral that just keeps going up. So although going a very circuitous route from being president of Samahan Pilipino, editor of Baptized newspaper, ASB president, the first Filipino-American at UCLA, following in the path and footsteps of someone that didn't quite make it, but slammed the door open, Mr. Tony Ricasa. But as you see that, and he left UCLA and all the challenges that brought him, he went afar to Chicago, to Washington, D.C., and then he came back home. And he came back home more than just Los Angeles. He decided to go back to Cerritos. And in Cerritos, he knows that he has the base of support because he's got great parents, great brothers and sisters, and a family. He came back to Cerritos because that's where he and Flo are from as high school sweethearts. And to prove he's committed to Cerritos, they now have a baby who will go to the very same school that they went to. Wouldn't you know it, as sure as that's going to become a reality, Mark realized that in order to make sure that Malia had the education she deserved, Mark realized in order to have the education that all young people should have, he got elected to the ABC Unified Board of Education. Now I'm telling you, like with Arlie Ricasa and with Mark Polito, I make a prediction here tonight that in San Diego, one of the new assembly people that's going to get elected, I don't know if it's next term or the term after that, is going to be Arlie Ricasa. You hear me on it. Will be Mark Polito. Ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Mark Polito.
whenever I hear Warren speak. You know, I think everybody knows what a great speaker and a community leader that Warren Furutani has been. But after working with you, Warren, for the past, where'd you go, Warren? Oh, there you are over there. For the past 2 years and having lunch with you almost every single day in the cafeteria in the state building downtown, I've come to know how truly a good man you are and a good friend. So thank you for that kind introduction, Warren. I want to start by first acknowledging the family and friends who came with me tonight over there at table 17. You've already met the Honorable Warren T. Furutani, but my folks, Rudy and Esther Polino, could you stand, please? Thank you. With 2 cameras in hand. There's my sister Marisa and her husband Ralph. Marisa's one who I blame for encouraging me to come to UCLA and getting me wrapped up in all this mess. No, I really owe it to my ate for being the role model that I really needed at a critical point in my life as a teenager. So I'm glad you're here tonight, Marisa. Rufino, the sole roommate that's here out of the 9 in the icebox. I don't know where you're at. I think the $60 price cost them out. But thank you, Rufino, for being here and for living with me. But most of all, my best friend in life, the love of my life, Gloria Perlis Bleedham. My baby girl, Malia Kathleen Perlis Bleedham. She's 4 months old, and this is one of the first times that we're bringing her out to the community. So, thank you for having us. You know, I want to start by thanking the Filipino Alumni Association of UCLA. I also want to congratulate my co-awardees, the Honorable Arlie Ricasa Bagapuro and Florante Ibanez, a little after me. I want to thank the awards nomination committee and the PAA officers and members for organizing such a beautiful event tonight. I think they really deserve a round of applause. I want to reciprocate the honor by asking PAA Chair Roselle and Samahang President Denise, if you could come to the podium. I'd like to present you with some certificates to commemorate this wonderful occasion. As a member of the Board of Education, I have to get into the practice of this. I've never done this. Bear with me. Okay. Okay, on behalf to Roselle, on behalf of the Board of Education of the ABC Unified School District, I present you with a certificate for the Filipino Alumni Association of UCLA in recognition of dedicated service and support to students, fellow alumni, the community, and the institution of public higher education through your tireless efforts, such as your scholarship program, which we're all here for tonight, your mentor program, and leadership in the community. Thank you. Denise, on behalf of the Board of Education, I also present you this certificate in honor of 30 years as an organization providing dynamic leadership on campus and in the community, and for presenting 25 years of inspiring Filipino culture.
If you notice that I came in a little late with my wife and our baby, there's a reason for that. Earlier tonight, we attended the 15th annual Filipino Cultural Night for our high school, Whitney High School, Club Parish. So it's a double pleasure tonight and an extra sentimental night because both Samahang and Club Kaibigan back in Cerritos basically have a shared history in that the whole reason why we started the high school club is because way back in 1984, without giving you my whole life history, back in 1984 there was a fundamental important event that happened in my life, and I came to a UCLA student conference. I don't know if it was a prep conference or an Estipasa conference, but my sister had encouraged me to come up to UCLA. And the honest reason was this. I was a problem kid for my parents. And I was having a lot of difficulties balancing social life and my academics. In other words, I was one of those at-risk kids. It's kind of contradiction because when you think of a place like Cerritos, it's an affluent suburb. But the reality for a lot of young Filipinos, and I think that the reality holds still true today, that when you're 13, 14, 15, it's kind of hard to look left and right and find a role model. It's kind of hard to look left and right and see positive people doing good things for our community. So at that conference, I met good folks like Arlie Ricasa, Tony Ricasa, Melody Lohman was on the keyboards playing some music. Crazy image in my mind. But anyways, I'm off script already. But it brings me back to that night. And basically what I wanted to say is this. I was a little caught off guard when Russell called me, because I usually don't take well to receiving awards and recognition. I've always felt a little weird about it. And what I mean by that is that she caught me by surprise because I really didn't expect to receive an award from PAA. I mean, there are so many incredible people in our community that have given back and continue to give back. So, to be truthful and honest, I have to say that it was a little bit shocking, because most of my memories of UCLA involve being very, very, very politically active, and as a consequence, not very popular or well liked. I often felt that most folks loved Gloria. I mean, who wouldn't love Gloria? And that they just tolerated me. Or maybe just tolerated my radical ways. In fact, if you read my bio, it reads completely with a positive spin, but it runs contrary to how I recollect a lot of my vivid memories as an activist at UCLA. What I mean by this is, I remember, and I'm sure some of you do, when some people wanted me fired as Hack Tie's editor for publishing controversial articles and editorials. And then I remember when some people wanted to impeach me as Samahang president for political positions and the leadership direction I took. And I remember, I'm sure my parents also particularly remember this, when the UCLA administration tried to kick me out of school, published it in the Daily Bruin, and barred me from speaking at graduation ceremonies, even though I was a student body president and I was supposed to. Needless to say, I got pretty used to paying dearly for the difficult choices I made. But through it all, I have no regrets, because there were always good people there along to share the struggles and the challenges that our community needed to go through. And so I thank people who planted that seed back when I was a 15-year-old punk who only wanted to DJ and break dance and didn't really care about school. And those are my sister, I mentioned Arlie, Eileen Almeria, I'm not sure if you're here tonight, who was, I think, prep director, who pulled me out from high school and encouraged me to go. Art Katabang, who I think was president, Tony Ricasa, and Melanie Loman, and many others. Old farts, as they used to call them, but dear to me. I want to thank my mentors while I was at UCLA, our late, dear Uncle Royal Morales, Helen Brown, Tita Tanya Azores, who taught Tagalog, Enrique de la Cruz, Don Nakanishi, Arlie Ward, who advised us in the news magazines, Celia Kudiyama and Joe Barada. I'm not sure if they're here, but both proud leaders in Samahang too. Mr. Warren Furitani, of course, and most dearly, Mama Philipera Cruz. You all have been positive forces in my life. But I want to say this. I learned a great deal at UCLA. So much that after graduation, after it was all over, I experienced a tremendous feeling of burnout and loss. And I wonder if many other people felt this way after being so engaged in a passionate community like Samahang. So much I felt this way that I needed to find a reason to continue living the life that I learned at UCLA. So I decided to venture out, like Warren said. I went to Chicago, I went to Washington, D.C., and what I realized was we have something special in UCLA. Something that is rare. And for all of the struggle and the pain that we all went through, with all the drama in Samahang, whether it had to do with who got to be the Nickling Princess, or who got to be the president in summer fall, or who didn't win and had to come back around and win winter spring, or I don't know, who got to select the dinner menu for the banquet. You know what I'm talking about, all the drama. For all the good and the bad, and the love and the hate, what I realized in my travels to grad school and then working in the capital of this nation is that I came across a lot of other brothers and sisters out there who were struggling to find the same sense of belonging, same sense of being a part of the family. And so I shared with them without being too boastful about Samahang, but I would share what I knew, and I learned from them also. And through it all, my wounds healed, and I gained clarity. And I brought it all back home because my wife, or my then girlfriend, decided to say yes, all the way from Hawaii while I was in Chicago. And we decided that of all the places to live, why would we want to live in Chicago where it's sub-zero weather? I would have loved to live in Hawaii, but Lori got something called rock fever after being there for 4 years, so we decided to bring it all back home to Cerritos, where we are today. So I have to say that I felt re-energized. I did take the long way home, but I always remember things that I learned here in Samahang. That's remember where you're from, who you are, and now that I'm back, I have to say that it feels really good. What I mean by that is that for Gloria and I to start our family right back where we started, right back where our parents decided to raise us, we now get to have the wonderful opportunity to raise Malia in our hometown. So, all of this, of course, I owe to life lessons learned right here in this beautiful extended family. Our community family that has the incredible capacity to love, to struggle, to challenge each other, to hate, then make up, but through it all to endure. Endure together. I'm truly grateful for this recognition, folks. and the lifelong memories that UCLA and the Filipino community has given me. I want to share this wonderful award with my wife, who has supported me unconditionally for the past 16 years, since we met in the halls of Whitney High School. And most of all, I want to dedicate this to my baby girl, Malia, and to you and your generation. And it's a big and growing generation. I see Artie's kids. I didn't see Kai here, Joella Navasita's big boy, Elan, and all the other next generation babies. May you be blessed by the collective work that we all do in the name of our community. So I thank you again, each and every one of you, PAA especially. Congratulations to Samahan on 30 years. It's quite impressive. And 25 years of PCN. I thank you, and may God bless us all.
Talk about the next 10 years, co-founder of SC Plaza, author of our Samahong theme song, and Samahong president in 1982. Please welcome Bella Loman.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me? You know, I was listening to the 72-76 group. They were talking about how suddenly Samahang came into view. I thought that maybe a festival of masks, and then your presentation is the fighting cock. Surely you'll get some attention from the administration, I think. But anyway, thank you. One thing I can tell you guys, with your PCN right now, oh, that's us. With your PCN right now, you guys must have auditions. You have serious script writing. But you know, can you imagine if we had that same seriousness and we were trying to write the Samahan theme song? We couldn't have written it. But you know, one thing's for sure. To be in the PCN during our time, you had to do a few things. The audition was, you should be willing to go to rallies, go to pickets. You should be willing to march in the homecoming with your bahag. That's why we won first place. They saw the presentation tonight, they'll give first place also, I think. Anyway, so we had fun though. We were serious, but we had fun. So just an indication of how much fun we had. Tony, could you hold the mic? I have to play something right here. Tony Ricata. He always held my mic when we played the guitar before. We did things on a whim. That's why we had lines like, spell De Soto. De Soto. D as in De Soto. E as in De Soto. I mean, that's some very intelligent lines we have to see. Tony, one of the songs we did, one of the PCNs we had, this is a pretty serious song, I think.
You can tell Mel has no respect for me all these years since we've been roommates. He makes me come back here like in the college days and hold his mic. Oh, only his mic I have. Pilipino blue. I take it to the left, I take it to the right. But baby, you know, Pilipino is a dynamite. Yeah, sing it out. I don't know why you have to be up here. Don't need to smoke out.
Pinoy blue. And all our friends are here.
Sing it, all right.
Buntong
Kuwintang Kabibayan Tagang we'll be performing, like I said, traditional music and Kuwintang music from of the Maranao, Maguindanao, and Tausug people, the Southern Philippine Island of Mindanao. And the instruments in the Kuwintang ensemble include the Dabakan, played by Jay, the Babandil, played by Eric, and Gandingan, played by Rochelle, and the Algongs by John and Pauline. And the first piece we'll play for you is from the Maguindanao tribe called Siguro Apangaguda. how it's performed in it's different from the version that we're all used to, the theatrical version with the prince and the band, both the umbrella attendant and the band dancers. This is like the traditional version that's performed in the Maranout village where there's only one girl going in and out of the band clubs. So, interesting deal.
and several active alumni identified that there was a need for an alumni association where former Saham leaders and members and Filipinos active in the community can go to a place to network to community groups created for Filipino alumni once they journey down the halls of UCLA. Presently, PAA helps serve leaders of yesterday and today as a place to come together to network and give back to the community. PAA also has social events to reunite alumni to have fun. And there's also mentorship programs and many other events that PAA organizes to reconnect with on behalf of PAA, I would like to thank each and every one of you for your contribution and support by being here tonight. As you may have earlier, we are recommending for scholarship endowment. Because of your attendance, you have already helped us to raise money. But there are several ways to get involved and to support PAA. Our Board of Directors election is coming up in May, and we would love to see many of you become board members. But if you do not have time to commit to be a board member, by simply becoming a member of PAA, you are continuing to support the scholarship endowment, and you get benefits of receiving discounts at our events throughout the year, And you will receive our quarterly newsletter, Pagpapalik. Tonight, we remember the past, celebrate the present, and promote the future. Each and every one of you is a vital part of the future of PAA, and look for your continued support.
I'm currently the mentorship director of PAA, and I'm going to be up here just for a few minutes to talk about mentorship. Presently, there's a myth in PAA that some people think this about PAA, some people think that about PAA, but we actually
free money for the students. Since the infancy of district benefits, the establishing tonight of a community celebration, one concept has remained constant in all changes have taken shape since. Our goal of promoting the Filipino community through higher education. We do this tonight in many ways. We do this by the simple fact that we are here together, sharing, crying, loving. We do this by the simple fact
Program at UCLA and minoring in public policy and geography. As a transfer student, the last 2 years at UCLA have been nothing less than life-changing. My education here has evolved into a personal journey about questioning conventional wisdom and ultimately my own fundamentals. Last year I was the recipient of the Filipino Alumni Association Scholarship and the Solidum Public Policy Scholarship. As an international development studies major, my studies have been largely focused on rural development and poverty alleviation in developing countries. Current realities of global inequalities and unequal redistribution of resources have inspired me to pursue a career addressing these realities. My education in many ways has become the gateway to understanding the world, and by making some sense of it all, will ultimately understand my role within it. The scholarship that
Let's all join together in our opening prayer. Heavenly Father, we now gather together in our Vespers community and thank you for the simple gift of our shared presence. We humbly ask you to send the Holy Spirit upon us, to give us a deeper awareness of your words and workings within and among us. As one heart and one mind, we yearn for a close relationship with you and pray that our time together brings a spirit of welcome, comfort, enlightenment, and renewal. We ask this in the name of your Son, our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. Be seated, everybody.
All right. Welcome, everyone. I'm just going to play a little video clip just to set the mood. Easiest piece here to get. And sorry about you guys moved back.
And maybe I should introduce our speakers, Len and Phil. And tonight they're speaking about mysticism and Sufism.
Enjoy.
Enjoy. Yes, that's what I mean.
So everyone just make yourself comfortable. Make yourselves comfortable.
There were millions of subsequent visitors to Fatima as the miraculous had taken place there. The children who had first seen Mary revealed that she had given them prophecies. Among them, the end of World War I, spread of communism through Russia, the slaughter of millions of innocent people in World War II, and the attempted assassination of Pope John Paul II.
All the prophecies of Fatima, and there were several, have all come true to the letter. The last one is that several entire nations will be annihilated. That is the one that still either is going to happen or it's going to be avoided.
This is another popular site where the sun is said to perform miracles. This is Medjugorje, a small mountainous village in Bosnia-Herzegovina. Like in Fatima, a group of teenagers here claim to have been visited by the Virgin Mary. Since 1981, when she first appeared, she is said to continue her contacts daily, exactly at 6:40 every evening. Though only the so-called visionaries, now in their early 30s, insist they can actually see and hear her, what many of the 10 million pilgrims who have come to Medjugorje believe they see is supporting evidence of this miraculous visitation offered up by the sun. Listen to me.
She was spinning from left to right.
I don't see the cross. Where's the cross?
People were seeing things in the sun. The sun was pulsating and spinning, changing color. People would see the cross in the sun. Something in me told me that all these people can't be the one.
Tim Downey, a school teacher from Westport, Connecticut, has been to Medjugorje 7 times. On his 6th trip, he brought a video camera, which he used to try to capture the sun's strange gyrations. This is the first time his extraordinary video has been shown on television. Is it evidence of a miracle? This is St. James Church, where the visionaries come for their daily apparition. It lasts for 4 minutes, during which a priest turns on a light in this tower. That's the signal for tourists from around the world to pray and watch for miraculous signs from the sun. That's when Downey shot this.
Sunrise now, ladies and gentlemen, the sun is pulsating right now.
The sun was not doing that, period, end of it.
Astronomy professor Jeff Hester does not believe we are witnessing a miracle, at least not on tape.
If the sun showed that kind of variability, it would make such a tremendous splash in astronomical circles as to, none of us would be talking about anything else. I've seen very, very similar phenomena on many occasions, just as a result of the way that a video moves.
I think that the reason the sun is pulsating is because the aperture is closing and opening. What it's doing is it's adjusting to the sun's position in the frame and also how much darkness there is surrounding the sun in the frame.
Well, people might say, well, the video was faked. People might say, well, maybe it was the camera. I don't know. It's up to them. They can believe or not believe. I have nothing to prove. I mean, I took this simple video and that's the way it is. But this is what's happening in this village, even as we speak.
Downey, it's...
All right. So how's everyone doing? Good. Everyone doing well? My Vespers, I'm psyched. Everyone's going to enjoy it. And it's awesome seeing everyone's faces. And finally, it's my turn to give you guys a little view into what I'm going to talk about. And a lot of it I want to relate to my life. Basically, the title of Vespers tonight is Joy, Mysticism, and Spiritual Beings of this whole world. I think we are spiritual beings merely having physical experiences. Simple as that. And joy is a manifestation of our spirituality. By definition, what joy means is, according to the Layman's Bible Encyclopedia, joy, the emotion excited by the acquisition or the expectation of good, pleasure caused by good fortune or the like, gladness, delight. This joy is not only a response to the present blessings of a covenant relationship with God, but is also an anticipation of the future state when redeemed, man will be able to enjoy the fullness of the presence of God. Now also, the biblical concept of joy is that if we look at, in the Bible, another concept of joy, when one is saved, when one has been lost and has been saved out of 99, but let me just read it to you from Luke. I say to you that likewise joy shall be in heaven over one sinner that repenteth more than over 99 just persons, which need no repentance. Likewise I say unto you, there is joy in the presence of the angels of God over one sinner that repenteth. So basically they have it in the Bible. There is joy stated in the Bible. And taking this a little bit further, there was a speaker from the Religious Education Congress. Her name was Sister Mary Macaluso. She's known as the Fun Nun. Has anyone ever heard of her? Fun Nun? Anyone? George? No? Well, if you put Fun Nun in the internet, you find her. Anyway, she claims joy is the spirit empowering. She also mentions that in the Bible, joy is mentioned 250 times, sorrow 50, and sadness is mentioned once. So joy is something that's here. It's something that we can't overlook. Even this guy by the name of Richard Vincent, I found this one thing that he had published on the internet, and let me read it to you, because I think we all take a step down this path every now and then. He's someone who is really zealous about his faith, but along the way, like what happens with many of us, you get to the peaks and you hit the valleys. And from Richard Vincent, he says that my joy had departed. I was bitter, angry, and apathetic at the world around me. My smile had become a scowl, and my blessing had become a burden. It was then that I prayed to God this prayer, that he recorded in his spiritual journal, forgive me for not being joyful in much of anything lately, and teach me what it means to rejoice. Praise God that prayer was answered within a week. How was it answered, you may query? Did God give you a sign or a vision, or perhaps a warm feeling of joy? No. God simply led me to a book by J.I. Packer called Hot Tub Religion. In it he explains what true joy is, and I am indebted to him for the outline of this message. It wasn't so much that joy had departed. It's just that he had a different concept of joy. In other words, joy, in every sense of the word, changes just like how we change. You just have to learn how to find it in different things. In the Bible, John also says that Jesus wants us to be joyful. To dwell in God's presence is the case for great joy. What joy is not, you don't want to confuse things here, but joy is not happiness, because happiness is temporary, it's a state of mind, whereas joy is a way of life. Joy is how we live our lives. And also what joy is not, joy isn't the same thing as fun and games. Joy isn't the same thing as jollity. You might think of someone who's this type of person that's like a class clown, always having fun, never taking anything seriously. They try to turn everything into a joke. That's not what joy is. That's more the person's self coming out. But joy is part of something bigger. What is joy and what causes it? Joy flows from the awareness of being loved. It's from the awareness of loving and being loved, and also feeling significant. And if you look at this in the greater terms, if we think of God, a lover will go to the greatest of extremes to possess and retain the beloved, even to the point of death. And this is the commitment of love that God has for His children. And if you guys remember from Father Paul last week, who was here last week to see Father Paul? See, show of hands. Jen, were you here? No. Vita was here. And Coach here was here. I told Phil all about it today. Thomas, I think you were here?
Yes.
Thomas is here. As Father Paul said last week, joy happens all the time. It happens in our living moments, and it is living in the moment. It's also the happy state of knowing and serving God. That astronomer that was on TV, and the other guy that works for Camcorder magazine, they're not joyful. They're not joyful. I mean, it's simple as that. The joy wasn't with them. I mean, they might beg to differ, but that's what I think. But I mean, the fact that you guys are here joining me tonight, at least listening, keep an open mind, I think that's part of joy. I'm living in the moment. I'm enjoying all your presence. I'm enjoying George, Ned, Charles. That's what being joyful is all about. In Buddhism, in Sanskrit and Pali, joy is translated as the word it comes from the success of others. Another person I want to touch upon that also experienced joy and mysticism and the manifestation of joy is St. Teresa of Avila. She experienced a severe illness that paralyzed her legs for 3 years, but then experienced a vision of the sorely wounded Christ. Teresa then moved into a period of increasingly ecstatic experiences, which she came to focus more and more sharply on Christ's passion. And if you look at my handout, there's, if I didn't forget, it should be there. It should probably be the second to last page. There's an artist rendition of St. Teresa, and what was it like when she prayed and partook in that moment of joy, that moment of ecstasy. But probably the biggest thing to know about that is if all of a sudden God appears to you like in a burning bush or even a bird flying overhead, what you wanted to be aware of it. God's not here to scare you. Be not afraid. Simple as that. So when joy is manifested in your life, don't be afraid. It's just God trying to connect with His people. God trying to serve you and talking to you and finding out how you can be served. And a couple of excerpts from St. Teresa is St. Teresa was a very clever woman. She said the following: let us strive to face suffering with Christian courage. Then all difficulties will vanish, and pain itself will become transported to joy. Christ has no body, now on earth, but yours. No hands but yours, no feet but yours. Yours are the eyes through which Christ's compassion looks out on the world, Yours are the feet with which he is to go about doing good, and yours are the hands and with which he is to bless us now. 3-cent hour. And if we were in the moment with her, we can imagine this. As she started to pray again, God gave her spiritual delights. The prayer of quiet, where God's presence overwhelmed her senses. Raptures, where God overcame her with glorious foolishness. Prayer of union, where she felt the Son of God melt her soul away. Sometimes her whole body was raised from the ground. If she felt God was going to levitate her body, she stretched down on the floor, called up a nun to sit with her and hold her down. Far from being excited about these events, she begged God, quote, begged God very much, not to give me any more favors in public. St. Teresa also believed in obedience to God more than penance. If you do something wrong, don't punish yourself. Change. When someone felt depressed, her advice was that she go someplace where she could see the sky and take a walk. When someone was shocked that she was going to eat well, she answered, "There's a time for partridge and a time for penance." To her brother's wish to meditate on hell, she answered, "Don't." There's a little experience I want to share with you guys, because again I think Joy's partaking in the moment. It was from the contemplative retreat. One of my friends from the contemplative retreat is here tonight. It was after Stations of the Cross, and if you remember Father Willie, who was here, I was wearing the name tag, so I knew I was going to go into the contemplative retreat that evening. And after Stations of the Cross, I'm walking around, and I say, "Hey, Father Willie, how you doing?" Instantly he says to me, he's like, "Oh, you're going to go on the retreat?" I'm like, "Yes, I'm going to go on the retreat." And he says to me, he's like, "Oh, you're going to receive a message." I'm like, "What? What are you talking about?" And that was it. That's all he said to me. And instantly I thought to myself, okay, what's going on here? Am I going to become a friar, a Dominican friar? Or am I going to want to be a priest? Am I going to get a message that I'm supposed to become a Christian brother like the guys who taught me in high school? I don't know. So I'm thinking to myself, what is this message I'm going to receive? So from the contemplative retreat, it was Saturday evening, and a crucifix was being passed around, and we were asked just to close our eyes and say a little prayer. The crucifix came around, and a little moment of meditation. So when I got the crucifix, I looked at the crucifix, and instantly I looked at Jesus' face in the crucifix, and I noticed the kind of thorns around his head. And that was really interesting in itself. And then I took the crucifix in my hand, and I held it kind of like you hold a baby, because it just felt like a real special moment. And I closed my eyes to pray, and when I prayed, it was as if Jesus said to me instantaneously, when I listened, Jesus said to me, "Touch my wounds." That's what he said to me, "Touch my wounds." And it was just an amazing message. And what I got out of that, but it wasn't that I should enter the priesthood. A little applause from that. What I got out of that was, and I saw Father Willie to try to understand this. And he said, and this is what I realized, that heal whatever wounds are in my heart. And once I'm fine and good with all that, to touch the wounds of those around me who need healing. Whether it's my roommate, who, where God isn't a big part of her life, she doesn't have that much of a spiritual side. And I shared with her what happened that evening, and it touched her. And then there's also my friend who thinks that spirituality is going to church and that's it. He thinks that this is church. This is spirituality, this is church. This is me walking around going to work. You know, it's part of your life. It's being in the moment. And I shared that with him. And I think that's all part of being connected and helping touch and heal other people's wounds. And my last bunch of stuff that I want to share with you is something pretty special that happened in my life that was very joyful with me. is after a hard freshman year at Villanova, in which I realized that I wasn't meant to be a biology major, and that my roommate, who's a chain smoker and would wear my socks without me knowing. I mean, all this stuff, you know, like, I just had the worst freshman year of college. And I know we all have our stories, roommate stories, all that stuff. We'll ask people to share about the roommate stories later, but so my parents came to pick me up after college, and we're in the car, we're driving along, and you know the car's packed with all my stuff, and my mom and dad, they put this tape in, and instantly there are these silly songs playing, these really, really silly songs. They're kind of like kid songs, and my parents were singing along, and what it was a tape of joyful songs, because they joined a charismatic prayer group that end of my freshman year. And as we're listening to the tape, it's just like, you know, all my worries started leaving me, and I was enjoying the tape. It was just really cool. It was totally cool. And they became charismatics. Now, with charismatics, what they do is with their mass, with their prayer, it's a lot more intuitive. Like they sing and they move and do little hand motions when they sing. So it's basically just involving your whole body and senses. And what I realized is that, you know, after my parents joined that prayer group, it seemed as if they fell in love again. It was really nice. It was very joyful for me. Now, the last part that I want to wrap it up with is an event that happened with their charismatic prayer group. It was the Feast of Santo Niño, and the people from Freehold and Marlborough and surrounding towns where they're from, in New Jersey, they had a healing mass, and at the mass they had all their Santo Niños, just like the Santo Niño here, and it's on your handout. And during the mass, the priest blessed the infants, blessed the religious articles that you'll see on your handout on the inside of the page. And when my dad went to go get our infant, our baby Santo Niño, he noticed that there was some water, because the priest blessed with water. He noticed that there was some water by the cheeks and by the knee, and also right by the baby's belly button. And he's there with other people, and they're getting their Santo Niños. He wiped away the holy water, it seemed like he came back. He wiped away the holy water again, and it came back. He wiped away again, and it came back. And before they knew it, what he was witnessing, what all the people were witnessing, the group that started out with 20 people, and that was 30 people, and maybe even 40 people, was that the Santo Niño, 3 of them, started shedding tears. It was a miracle that they experienced, and it was a joyful, real joyful event that happened for them. It was as if God is saying to the group that you are doing my work. I mean, this is joyful for me. This is connecting with me, and this is me just giving you a sign, however small, however large, that you are partaking in a joyful moment with me, and you are serving me and doing my will. And what I want to conclude with, before we do the small groups and the questions, is I just want to play for you an account of what happened. Guys having fun so far?
Yeah.
Good.
Now, I will witness myself. This is Sylvia Vista, and my prayer group calls me Sister Ning. I am from Marlborough, New Jersey, and I also belong to the Mary Queen of Peace prayer group. After the healing service, which is one of the most powerful healing services that I have seen, because people really were touched. And after the service, Sister Ana Rivera said goodbye to me, and she said that her husband will pick her up at 4 p.m. So she said goodbye, and she started to leave by the side door. And I was occupied because I wanted to give her the 2 flyers that we have for our next activity. And then I saw my husband, boy, said that Father Alex will be blessing the statues. So I also stopped what I was doing. And people were also already leaving because Father Alex almost forgot that he had to bless the statues. And Olet Molina was motioning to me to get the flyers, the 2 sets of flyers, so she could start giving them out because people were already getting ready to leave the church. But everybody stopped because Father Alex said he would bless, and he started the prayers for the blessing. I was by the altar, and it was a short prayer, and after the consecration and blessing the statues, Kathy Colaruso and Pat Luke, 2 members of our prayer group, were saying goodbye to me. So I went with them, and we were walking towards the door of the church. So I was walking away from the altar, and we were talking, saying goodbye, when I heard a very loud shout coming from the altar. And it was like a big explosion, the way it came to me, it sounded to me. And I kind of looked backward and I said, what is that? But I didn't mind it because, as I said, our 2 American friends were leaving. And so I turned again and were saying goodbye to them. When I saw someone running towards me saying, Sister Nini, Sister Nini. In our dialect, she was saying, Sister Nini, gusto mo bang makita ang Santo Niño mo, umiiyak? Which translated means, Sister Nini, do you want to see your statue? It's crying. And I said, what? And when I looked at the altar, people were already congregating around the altar. So I rushed, and the 2 American friends also, I know, were behind me, right behind me. And I was looking, when I went there, I saw Father Alex. I was like looking at him, and I saw Father Alex looking so incredulous. He had almost, the way I saw it, I think he almost was in tears. And in our own words, it was yung manghang-mangha, talagang parang nagulat. Then I tried to get near the statues because there were about 3 or 4 people right before me. And the next one I saw was Dr. Velez kneeling before his statue, the Spanish Santo Niño, and he was crying like a baby. And he was saying they were all crying. And all the people around were either praying, crying, and so many were trying to wipe the tears coming from the faces of the statues. And when I realized what was happening, I forced myself near my statue. I was very much interested in my statue, but what caught my eye was the middle one, the Spanish Niño owned by the Velezes. And I saw that the belly button was glistening. And so I tried to get nearer, and finally I was able to get very near my infant Jesus, the one that we own. And I saw people still wiping the tears from the face. So I did the same thing. I wiped the face with my finger, and it was wet. And I automatically wiped the cheeks, the chin, and it was all wet because it's like when a baby cries and nobody attends to the baby and the tears just fell down the cheeks and congregated at the chin. That's how it was all wet. So I touched because when I was wiping the chin, I automatically touched also the neck, the cloth at the neck, and it was truly wet. So I was, my hands went down. I was trying to see how wet it was, and I really felt that I would say dress, but the front of the minion was wet. And that's when I moved away from the statue and I started praying and praying aloud, saying, thank you, Lord, for this wonderful miracle. And I could sense in me such overflowing joy. And I looked around, I saw Kathy who was on kneeling before the Blessed Sacrament. She was in tears and she was praying. And I saw Papu and some other members went to my right side because there's another infant Jesus that belonged to the church right on the wall, and I think people were going near and trying to see if the same phenomenon is happening with that. But as far as we could tell, that infant Jesus did not cry, but the 3 infant Jesus that we brought were all in tears. And I then heard my husband praying in tongues, and I joined in, and I know people also joined in, because as a charismatic group, when we do praising, we also pray in tongues. So people were praising God, praying in tongues, and the prayer that came to me automatically is thank you, Lord, for manifesting so powerfully. Thank you, Lord, for showing that you are with us. And that's exactly how I felt, that the Lord affirmed everything that we have done. And I was just so joyful because truly it is a miracle. I've never seen anything like this in my life. And people were just so overwhelmed by this miracle right before our eyes. And I could truly say, without any hesitation, from my mind, my heart, that I have truly witnessed, I have seen, touched the miracle that our Lord is granting us.
Great. So that's that. And before we carry on with Phil, there's the orange sheet. If you guys want to break up into groups of 4 people, we'll take only 5 minutes or less, and just talk about those questions in the back, and then we get on with the section.
Pretty good.
The question is, recall a choice event and what would that be? If you feel like sharing.
I just said yes.
You didn't really have an answer, did you?
Change the way
I actually thought it was, and it was because of the change the way you believe in society.
How are we doing, everyone? Are we doing okay?
We're joyful.
Yeah. Douglas? Yes? Yeah. Elizabeth? Yes. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Phil, who will talk to us about.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right. The reason I wanted to talk about Sufism was because we had talked about this idea of having this Vespers on mysticism and these miraculous types of things. And Sufism is an expression of Islam that deals with that. You might in fact call it contemplative Islam. It started in the first couple of hundred years of Islam itself, when there was a group of Orthodox people that had created a hierarchy. There was the political system was Islamic, and they had problems, much in the same way that our hierarchy has problems today. So, in essence, it's a great place to talk about it. Sufi was a response to that, a desire based upon a group of people who said, we want to reach a direct connection with God. We want to look beyond the practices, we want to look beyond the dietary restrictions, the political structure, the priests, the practice itself, and reach God directly. The path that they used was contemplation, which the word itself speaks volumes about what they wanted to do. The word contemplation comes from con, which of course is like you have chili con carne, chili, with meat. Con is with, okay? There's a connection here, just give me a second. Okay, and con templar. Templar is the root of the word temple, and in that word temple is the definition of it is a temple was a place in space which is used to observe God. So, in the word contemplation, we're talking about the idea that you, your very being, your person, your soul, is by itself a place in space in which God can be directly observed. So instead of going out to the world and destroying and conquering and creating political systems, they said, let's find God within. Within that, there was an understanding that every moment, every single moment of our lives is a miraculous creation. We talk about Medjugorje and these miraculous things and these wonderful things that Leonard was talking about, and these beautiful miracles. But in the contemplative path, each second, each moment of our lives, creation is a profound miracle by itself. And within that is tremendous joy, in the sense that each interaction you have with a person is a great miraculous gift that these two souls, these two temples come together and may interact. And that's where the whole idea of a loving path came out. The only way to spread love is to interact with someone else. One of the symbols of Sufism is in fact a honeybee, and the idea that a bee flies from flower to flower and spreads joy, and each interaction with the flower is this sweet, loving, creating act. And so a honeybee is actually one of the symbols in Sufi path. I want to actually turn it over now to, we have a guest, Morna, who's going to be talking a little bit about her path in Sufism. Like Christianity, like contemplative Christianity, which I'm going to talk about a little bit, there's lots of different methods and paths, and we have a guest tonight who's going to speak a little bit about that. So please welcome Morna Watson.
Great pleasure to be here this evening. I haven't talked about Sufism ever before, apart from to friends who have asked me about it. So this is a first for me. And one of the reasons that I really was interested in talking about it is because I feel that there's quite a lot of Phil and I were talking about this earlier. Sufism has become quite sort of hip with the music of Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan and the poems of Rumi. I'm sure you've heard some of these songs and poems. And really, the order of Sufism that I belong to is quite different from that. There are at least 4 different types of Sufi contemplation. One of them is connected with the church, with Islam directly. One is to do with the whirling dervishes, which Rumi instigated in Turkey, and another one is the Qawwali singers that are mostly based in India. And the fourth is the one that I belong to, which is called the Naqshbandi path, which is the silent Sufis. And the reason that they're called silent Sufis is because they don't do the dancing and the singing and all of that. What they do is silent contemplation, as Phil was saying. And that's about all there is to it. So although it's incredibly simple, it's actually very difficult because you don't have anything to hold on to. And it's one of those paths which, unless you're completely sort of addicted to it in a way, I don't think people kind of stick with it. And so I thought I'd tell you a bit about what happened in my experience. I had been looking for a path, and I was about 50, I suppose, and so I thought, this is the time in my life when I can, go away and sit quietly and contemplate for the rest of my life. And this is the kind of thing that happened. So I thought I was actually going to be a Buddhist, because I was very attracted to Buddhism. I'd been out to Japan and I'd had a very intense mystical experience when I was out there. So I'd been looking around for the kind of Buddhism that I wanted to belong to. And I got as far as learning that there was a particular Roshi that I could take lessons with. But he happened to be away for 6 weeks. So, the plan was that when he came back, I was going to go and take these classes. In the meantime, a friend of mine had told me about a meditation group, which happened to be very near to where I lived in London at the time. This was about 20 years ago. And so I thought, well, while I'm waiting for this Roshi to come back, I'll go along and check this meditation group out. So I went along not knowing anything about what form it was. And I walked into this room, which was probably about the same size as this room here, with people sitting in silence around the edge of the room. Some were on chairs, some on the floor, and there was a woman there who was the leader of the group, but nobody introduced me. There was absolutely nothing formal about it. So I sort of sat down, feeling quite embarrassed. But within minutes, I had this sort of wave came over me of feeling that I had come home. And it's not rational, it doesn't belong to the brain. You can't sort of make sense of it. But it was a connection with the heart. And that's what Sufism is to me. It's a path of the heart. And consequently, love is the main thing that we talk about, or experience more than talk about. So I joined this group, but I'm a very anti-group person. I'd never got involved in any of the sort of New Age stuff that was around in the 70s and 80s. I don't like groups that much, or at least I didn't then. I'm better at it now. So I kind of hung around on the edge of this meditation group, because what they did was they sat in half an hour silent meditation. That part of it was fine. And then everybody got up and had tea, and something to eat, and gossiped. And I didn't think that gossip was at all what I should be doing in this kind of contemplative situation. But gradually, over time, that sort of faded away, and I became part of this group. And obviously, part of the attraction was the woman who led the group, who is dead now, but at the time she was about 80. She died a couple of years ago in her 90s. And her story is really quite a remarkable one, but I don't have time to tell you about it. All I can say is that here's this woman who was originally Russian. She was educated in Paris and Vienna. She came to England. She married an Englishman, a rather a Scotsman. And when he died, she was so absolutely overcome with grief that she set out on a path to find something, to take the place of this void that had been created. So she ended up going out to India, and eventually, after many adventures, she found a teacher. Now this teacher was a Hindu, but he was also a Sufi. His father had also been a Sufi sheikh. And so here we have a Russian married to a Scot, goes to India, has a teacher who is a Hindu but is also a Sufi. So I'm telling you about this because I think it's really important to realize that, as with the contemplative Christian traditions, as Phil said, there is a sense of all the contemplative traditions having a real connection. And the connection is that there is no dogma attached to a contemplative way. It's to do with a direct connection with the heart. And what they say in the Naqshbandi tradition of Sufism, and I think it's probably the same in the other Sufi traditions, is that you don't really learn anything from your teacher until that teacher has died. And then it is a direct transmission, heart to heart. And I brought various bits and pieces that I thought I might read, and there's one thing that I would like to finish with before we do a brief meditation, if I've got time.
Yeah, please.
This is from a book called Perfume of the Desert by Andrew Harvey. It's quite a recent book. And he was a very great friend of one of the Sufi scholars who, at the time when she told him this little sort of story, was already in her 80s. And he is asking her about what Sufism is to her. And this is what she said. People ask me all the time what I think Sufism is. Sometimes, when I'm lazy, I tell them that it is the esoteric side of Islam, or trot out the quotation of some Sufi sage or philosopher. But when I'm feeling reckless, I just say, Sufism is the ancient wisdom of the heart. It predates Islam as eternity predates time. It has always been there from the beginning of human adoration of God. Sufism is the ancient wisdom of the heart and the science of love born from that wisdom. A science as precise but far more beneficial than the external sciences, perfected over centuries of brave exploration of the desert of the Absolute. Did you know that the word for mystic path in Sufism, tariqa, means the path in the desert that the Bedouin takes to travel from oasis to oasis? Obviously, such a path is not clearly marked like a highway and isn't even a visible road, but it is there to those who know. To find your way in the trackless desert, you need to know the area intimately. Sufis are those who know the area intimately. So, shall we do meditation now? I'll just give you the way that I've been taught to meditate, and then Phil will close the meditation for us. I'd like you to concentrate on your heart, and then feel from your heart love spreading to completely contain you. Every last hair of your head, every part of your body is surrounded by this love. And then in this place of love, begin by thinking of those that you love, those who are suffering, and give yourself a minute or two to focus on the healing power of love. And then from there, we'll sit in silence with this feeling of love surrounding all of us and connecting all of us.
with your eyes still closed, and the feeling of love still with you, in your mind back to the room, with the people around you, the loving presence of these other people who gather here, with the noises of the world, the cool night air. Open your eyes slowly. The contemplative path, the Sufi path, teaches us that feeling of love is always with us. It always surrounds us. It is immediately to be found whenever we stop and take a still moment. The path of the Sufi, the path of the Christian contemplative, and anyone who truly seeks to find God in their life looks for that and knows and contemplates on the fact this love is always with us. I have just a minute or two before we stop, and I wanted to talk just briefly for a minute about Christian contemplation, which is at its fundamental root identical to exactly what Morna has said. She mentioned the fact that the Sufi path is beyond reason. St. Cyril of Alexandria in 440 AD, which is 300 years before Islam even started, 200 years before Islam even started, said, God is incorporeal, immaterial, impalpable, beyond quantity and circumscription, beyond form and figure. Meister Eckhart said in 1278, God has only spoken one thing. His speech is only one. In this one speaking, he speaks his Son, and together with him the Holy Spirit and all creatures. And there is only one speaking in God. He also said, all utterances are the utterance of God. If my mouth speaks and declares God, so too does the being of a stone. A couple hundred years after that, St. Teresa of Avila said, let nothing trouble you. Let nothing make you afraid. All things pass away. God never changes. But that love never changes. Patience obtains everything. God alone is enough. St. John of the Cross said, in detachment, the spirit finds quiet and repose for coveting nothing. Nothing wearies itself by elation. Nothing oppresses it by dejection, because it stands in the center of its own humility. Thomas Merton said, we find God in our own being, which is the mirror of God. I just want to leave you with that one, because that is really truly the contemplative path. That we are a mirror of God, and we are reflected into this world, and that we exist in the mind of God. And we can see God merely by closing ourselves and looking inside to our very self, our very essence, and knowing that we are an expression of God's love in the world. If anyone has would like to read any more on this, I have a handout. And thank you, Morna, for leading us in that meditation. That's all I have.
How we usually